Okay, so like everyone's heard of Sun Tzu's Art of War,
Yeah.
right? But like, have you ever actually thought about how this ancient text can help you like win in the modern world?
It's interesting. It's
Yeah.
so relevant.
Yeah, we're going deep on some key principles today.
Okay.
We're pulling insights from this podcast that breaks it all down.
Cool.
We're going to see how you can like apply this ancient wisdom to your everyday life.
Awesome. Well, what's really fascinating about the Art of War is how it emphasizes strategy over brute force.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about overpowering your opponent. It's about outsmarting them.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that is relevant in just about every situation you could imagine.
Right.
Whether you're negotiating a deal, leading a team,
Yeah.
or even just trying to figure out which checkout line at the grocery store is going to move the fastest.
Oh, totally. The podcast we're looking at jumps right into one of the most fundamental principles from the book. Know yourself and know your enemy.
Right.
We've all heard that before.
Of course.
But what's interesting here is how they break it down.
Yeah.
Like what this actually means in practice, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding your strengths and weaknesses.
Mhm.
It's about really understanding the motivations and goals of like the people you're dealing with.
It's about seeing the bigger picture,
Yeah.
anticipating the moves of all the other players involved.
Exactly.
Like, say you're applying for a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might have an amazing resume, you might have fantastic skills, but if
Yeah.
you don't take the time to research the company or the person who's interviewing you,
Yeah.
you're missing a crucial piece of the puzzle.
That's huge.
Yeah,
So it's not just about showing up and being like, hey, hire me, I'm great.
exactly.
It's about figuring out what they need.
Yes.
What problems are they trying to solve?
Yes,
And positioning yourself as the solution.
exactly. If you can figure out their pain points, and then you can demonstrate how you can address those,
Yeah.
then you're not just another candidate. You're like a strategic asset.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right.
And it ties into another principle from the Art of War that I think we all struggle with sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that strategy beats reaction.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day
Oh, absolutely.
and just react to like every single problem that pops up.
Right. And as the podcast points out,
Yeah.
that kind of reactive approach can lead to burnout and ultimately be ineffective.
Totally.
You end up treating the symptoms instead of addressing the root cause.
Ugh. Yeah, it's like you're constantly putting out fires all day long.
Exactly.
It's exhausting.
It is.
And you never feel like you're getting ahead.
Right. And that's where Sun Tzu's advice comes in.
Okay.
He urges us to step back,
Yeah.
assess the situation,
Oh.
create a plan.
Mm.
It's about moving from a reactive mindset to a strategic one.
So instead of just running around putting out fires all the time,
Yes.
we need to take the time to figure out why these fires keep starting in the first place.
Exactly. And that's where the real power lies. In understanding those underlying dynamics and developing a strategy to address them proactively.
I like that.
Like, think about launching a product, for example.
Okay.
It's so easy to get caught up in reacting to, like, every move your competitors make.
Oh, yeah. So you're saying instead of getting thrown off by the competition,
Mm-hmm.
we should be focused on like our own game plan.
Exactly.
Okay.
You develop a solid strategy based on market research, your target audience, and a clear understanding of, like, your unique value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
That way you're not just reacting to the chaos, you're
Yeah.
controlling the narrative.
Okay. That's such a powerful shift in perspective.
Right.
So we've talked about knowing ourselves and our enemies and the importance of having a strategy instead of just reacting all the time.
Yeah.
What's the next like key principle from the Art of War?
Well, this one might seem a bit counterintuitive at first, but it's all about the power of surprise and flexibility.
Wait, surprise.
Yeah.
I thought the Art of War was all about like careful planning and strategy. How does surprise fit into that?
That's a great question. It's not about throwing your strategy out the window
Okay.
and just doing like random things to confuse people.
Right.
It's more about understanding that no plan
Yeah.
survives contact with the enemy, or in our case, like the real world.
Okay, so like life throws you curveballs
Exactly.
and you just got to be ready to adapt.
Exactly.
Okay.
The podcast actually uses a great analogy.
Okay.
Imagine a competitor unexpectedly launches a product that's incredibly similar to yours.
Oh, yeah.
A rigid, inflexible plan would leave you scrambling to catch up.
Right.
But if you embrace this principle of surprise,
Okay.
you're already prepared to adjust and maintain your advantage.
So you're not just reacting to their move.
Right.
You're already like 10 steps ahead.
Exactly.
So how do we even cultivate that flexibility, that ability to like adapt on the fly?
It all starts with mindset. Really being open to new information.
Yeah.
Being willing to change course when needed, not getting stuck in that like rigid my way or the highway mentality.
Right.
And this really ties into resilience too.
So it's not about avoiding challenges or pretending like they're not going to happen.
Exactly.
It's about being able to like roll with the punches.
Yes.
Come out stronger on the other side.
Precisely. Think about it this way. Clinging to a fixed idea of how things should be
Yeah.
will only lead to disappointment.
Oh, for sure.
But if you're flexible, if you're willing to adapt, you can navigate those unexpected twists and turns and even use them to your advantage.
So we've covered understanding ourselves in the playing field, having a solid strategy,
Yes.
and being flexible enough to adapt when things inevitably change.
Right.
That feels like a lot to process already.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
But the podcast also gives us some really practical tools to put these principles into practice.
Okay.
One that stood out to me was this idea of pre-mortem planning.
Pre-mortem.
Yeah.
Like planning for your plan to die.
Well, not exactly die, but essentially you imagine your project or plan has already failed.
Okay.
And you brainstorm all the possible reasons why it might have gone wrong.
Whoa. So it's like a reverse post-mortem.
Exactly.
Instead of figuring out what went wrong after the fact, you're doing it beforehand.
You got it.
That's interesting.
It sounds counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but think about it. By identifying those potential points of failure in advance, you can then take steps to prevent them from happening in the first place.
Okay, that's actually brilliant. It forces you to think critically about like the weaknesses in your plan
Exactly.
and address them like proactively.
Yes.
But doesn't that take a lot of time though? Like what if
Yeah.
you need to make a quick decision?
That's where that adaptability muscle comes in.
Okay.
You've already thought about the potential pitfalls,
Yeah.
so you're more likely to spot them early on and adjust your course.
Right.
And remember, even with pre-mortem planning, you'll probably encounter something you didn't anticipate.
So you're saying even with all this planning and strategizing,
There's always going to be an element of the unknown.
always.
I guess that brings us back to Sun Tzu's point about being adaptable, right?
Absolutely. Pre-mortem planning is a fantastic tool,
Yeah.
but it's not a guarantee of success.
Right.
It's about being prepared, but also recognizing that the landscape can change and we need to be ready to shift gears.
Speaking of shifting gears,
Yeah.
is there anything else from the Art of War that can help us navigate those, like, unexpected changes? Besides constantly adapting, I mean.
Well, this next one is a bit more about mindset,
Okay.
and it's something that honestly I needed to hear.
Okay.
It's about choosing your battles wisely.
Ooh, yeah. I know some people who seem to turn every little thing into a battle.
Right.
It's exhausting to be around.
And that's what Sun Tzu was getting at.
Yeah.
Not every disagreement, not every setback, not every annoyance needs to be like a full-blown conflict.
Right.
Sometimes it's more strategic to conserve your energy and resources for the fights that truly matter.
So it's about being more discerning.
Focusing on what's truly important and not wasting energy on things that are ultimately just distractions.
Exactly. And that takes a lot of self-awareness.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to step back,
Yeah.
assess the situation, and ask yourself, is this really worth fighting for? Or am I better off focusing my energy elsewhere?
Okay. I'm already feeling more strategic just thinking about that.
Right.
It's almost like we're playing a game of chess, not just reacting to whatever life throws at us.
Exactly.
But what about when you do need to engage, though?
Yeah.
Is there anything in the Art of War about how to handle those situations?
You know, there is.
Okay.
And it might seem a little sneaky,
Okay.
but I think there's definitely a way to apply it ethically.
Okay.
It's about the element of surprise.
Hold on. Didn't we already talk about surprise?
We did,
Okay.
but this is less about being adaptable
Mm-hmm.
and more about using it as like a strategic advantage.
Gotcha.
Sun Tzu was a big believer in using deception to gain an edge over an opponent.
Wait, are we talking about like tricking people?
Not necessarily, because
Wow.
that doesn't sound very ethical. Not at all.
Oh.
It's more about being strategic and thoughtful about how you present information.
Okay.
Think about a negotiation.
Okay, I'm listening. How would Sun Tzu approach a negotiation?
Well, if you reveal all your cards right away,
Yeah.
you lose your leverage, right?
Yeah.
You become predictable.
Right.
But if you hold back some information, keep your opponent guessing, and then introduce like a surprise element at just the right moment.
You can like completely shift the power dynamic.
Yes. It's like a strategic reveal, and it can be incredibly effective.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that this isn't about being manipulative or dishonest.
So how do we use this idea of like strategic surprise ethically?
It's about being mindful of the information you share and when you share it.
Okay.
It's about being deliberate and calculating, but always with the goal of achieving like a mutually beneficial outcome.
That's a good distinction to make.
Yeah.
I can see how that could be really helpful in all sorts of situations, not just business deals.
Exactly. It can apply to anything from negotiating a raise to resolving a conflict with a friend.
Right.
It's about understanding the power dynamics at play.
Yeah.
And using strategic surprise to your advantage.
This is all so fascinating.
It is.
I'm starting to see the world in a whole new light.
It's incredible, right? And the best part is we've only just scratched the surface of what the art of war has to offer.
I know, right?
But as we start to wrap things up,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways that you're walking away with?
Well, first off, I'm definitely going to try that pre-mortem planning thing.
Yes.
I can see how that could be a game changer.
Absolutely.
And just the idea of being more strategic in general, not just like reacting to everything,
Yeah.
is really empowering.
It is.
How about you?
For me, it's the reminder that strategy is a mindset.
Oh, yeah.
It's a way of thinking about the world and approaching challenges.
Yeah.
And like any skill, it takes practice.
It's like we've been given this incredible toolkit,
Yes,
but now we need to learn how to use it effectively.
exactly. It's
Wow.
about taking these principles and making them a part of how we think and act.
So it's not just about memorizing quotes from The Art of War.
No,
It's about internalizing the wisdom and applying it to our own lives.
that's it. It's about becoming more strategic thinkers and using that skill to navigate like the complexities of life.
And that's a skill that's valuable no matter what battles we're facing, whether it's a tough negotiation, a personal challenge,
Yeah,
or even just like trying to get ahead in a competitive world.
absolutely. So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive into the art of war,
Yeah.
what's like one final piece of wisdom from Sun Tzu that we can leave our listeners with?
Okay, so Sun Tzu has this quote.
Okay.
It's like, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
So much of strategizing is about being prepared, thinking things through, picking your battles carefully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about like rushing into things without a plan
Right.
or getting caught up in like every little conflict.
Yeah.
It's about being strategic, intentional about how you approach challenges.
As we've been talking about all this, I've
Yeah.
been thinking about like a challenge I'm facing. And it's amazing how like putting on these Sun Tzu glasses
Right.
changes my whole perspective.
Totally. Me too. It's like this ancient wisdom
Yeah,
is giving us this whole new playbook for life.
it really is.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to think that a book written thousands of years ago
Yeah.
can still be so relevant to our modern lives.
So for our listeners who are ready to channel their inner Sun Tzu, what's like a good first step they can take?
Well, I think the most important thing is to start paying attention to the strategic dynamics at play in their own lives.
Oh, yeah.
So you observe the power dynamics in your relationships, the competitive landscape at work,
Right.
the way you approach like decision making.
So it's about becoming more aware
Yeah,
of the battlefields that we're like navigating every day,
exactly.
even if they don't involve like actual fighting.
Precisely. Once you start seeing the world through that strategic lens,
Yeah.
then you can start applying these principles we've been talking about.
It's like we've unlocked this secret code.
Right.
The more we use it, the better we become at understanding how to like navigate these complex situations.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But remember, it's not about becoming like some ruthless manipulator.
Right.
Or trying to like outsmart everyone around you.
Right. It's about using these principles
Yeah.
to achieve your goals in a way that's like ethical and effective
Yes,
and ultimately empowering.
exactly. It's about being the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
A strategic thinker who can navigate challenges with wisdom, grace, and a touch of Sun Tzu brilliance.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the art of war,
Okay.
we want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay.
Think about a situation you're facing right now, a problem you're trying to solve,
Yeah.
a decision you need to make, a goal you're working towards.
Okay.
Now, put on your Sun Tzu hat And ask yourself, what would my strategic plan look like?
What are your strengths and weaknesses?
What obstacles stand in your way?
What opportunities can you leverage?
And how can you adapt your approach
Mm-hmm.
to maximize your chances of success?
Remember, the wisdom of the art of war is available to all of us.
You've got the tools.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and conquer. Sun Tzu has this great quote that really sums it all up for me.
Yeah, what is it?
He said, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So much of this strategizing stuff is with being prepared,
Totally.
thinking things through,
Yeah.
picking your battles.
Choosing wisely.
Yeah. It's not about rushing in without a plan
Yeah.
or getting caught up in every little conflict.
Right.
It's about being strategic,
Yeah.
intentional about how you approach challenges.
I've been thinking about that
Yeah.
as we've been talking about all this. I've been kind of applying it to my own life, thinking about like a challenge that I'm facing.
Right.
And it's amazing how just shifting your perspective, like putting on these Sun Tzu glasses,
Right.
changes everything.
It really does. Like this ancient wisdom is giving us a whole new playbook for life.
Totally.
That's pretty cool.
It really is.
So for anyone listening who's ready to channel their inner Sun Tzu, what's a good first step? Like, what can they do?
You know, I think the most important thing
Yeah.
is to start paying attention to the strategic dynamics
Yeah.
that are at play in their own lives.
Okay. How do we do that?
Well, start observing stuff,
Okay.
like the power dynamics in your relationships,
Sure.
the competitive landscape at work, the way you approach decision-making.
Right. So it's about becoming more aware
Yeah,
of the battlefields that we're like navigating every day.
exactly.
Even if they don't involve like actual fighting.
Exactly. Once you start seeing the world through that strategic lens,
Right.
you can start applying all these principles we've been talking about.
It's like we've unlocked a secret code.
Yeah.
And like the more we use it, the better we get at understanding how to navigate these complex situations.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But remember,
Right.
this isn't about becoming some ruthless manipulator
Right.
or trying to outsmart everyone around you.
It's not about being sneaky.
No, it's about using these principles
Yeah.
to achieve your goals in a way that's ethical, effective,
Right.
and ultimately empowering.
Exactly. So it's about being the best version of yourself.
Yes.
A strategic thinker who can like navigate challenges with wisdom
Yes.
and a little Sun Tzu flair. I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the art of war,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with a challenge.
I like it.
Think about a situation you're facing right now, a problem you're trying to solve,
Okay.
a decision you need to make,
Yeah.
a goal you're working towards. Okay, now put on your Sun Tzu hat
All right.
and ask yourself, what would my strategic plan look like?
What are your strengths and weaknesses?
What obstacles are standing in your way?
What opportunities can you leverage?
And how can you adapt your approach to maximize your chances of success?
Remember,
Yeah.
the wisdom of the art of war is available to us all.
You've got the tools.
Yeah.
Now go out there.
And conquer.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was fun.
See you next time.